Welcome and namaste, everyone, to this session organized by Society for Entrepreneurship Educators, and Tata Institute of Social Sciences. On the session title is My Lab and COVID Response, the story of innovation and entrepreneurship. So this will be a conversation session with the founding team of My Lab, Mr. Hasmukh Rawal and Mr. Shailendra Kavade. So welcome, and we want to compliment on behalf of the entire audience team about your achievement and your response to COVID, and really the country feels proud about you. So big congratulations to Hasmukh and Shailendra for this great achievement, and we are really keenly waiting for your conversation in this session, and want to know about your story. We also welcome Dr. Premnath, the head of NCL Innovation and Director, Venture Center Pune. So as I said that My Lab is the first Indian company to get commercial approval for COVID-19 test kit, which was developed in-house by the R&D team of My Labs. My Lab is basically an India biotechnology pioneer in the molecular diagnostics, with a wide spectrum of solutions being offered in clinical diagnostics, pharmaceutical drug discovery, biomedical research, agrigenomics, and animal and food safety. I feel happy and proud to welcome Mr. Hasmukh Rawal, who is one of the founding team members. He obtained postgraduate in medical biotechnology and started his professional career working with Invitrogen. In My Lab, he is responsible for business development for high-end equipments like sequencers, real-time PCRs, etc. So he looks after the entire spectrum of business development and supports in sales and marketing. Welcome, Hasmukh, and would you like to say hello to the audience?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our experience and also help others to on the similar line.
Yeah, so your voice is little breaking. If you can sort of set it right, meanwhile, if there is a possibility, that would be great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
Sure.
Meanwhile, it's my pleasure to introduce Shailendra Kavade, who is also one of the founding team members, and with 15 years, more than 15 years experience in various business domains of life science industry. He has deep understanding of the changing techno-commercial dynamics of life sciences, diagnostics, and pharma industry. So we really feel proud to have you, Shailendra, with us. Would you like to say hello to the audience? Shailendra, are you there?
You're on mute, I think. Shailendra?
Shailendra, can you unmute, please?
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much, team. We are really happy to meet you all here. And we heard a lot about Tata Institute of Social Sciences since our college days. And we are really happy to be here today.
Thank you. Welcome. We are also extremely happy to have Dr. V. Premnath, who heads NCL Innovation, and also he's the founder director of Venture Center Pune, our friend, philosopher, guide on several occasions, and we work together on many disciplines. Dr. Premnath is a graduate from IIT Bombay and obtained his PhD from MIT, USA, and also been a Chevening Technology Enterprise Fellow. He's a scientist in Polymer Science and Engineering Division of National Chemical Laboratory, popularly known as NCL, of CSIR, that is the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research of Government of India, located in Pune. With his interest in technology development for biomedical products, he's an expert in that discipline. Brings considerable experience in technology development and commercialization. So welcome to you, Dr. Premnath. Would you like to say hello to our audience?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's always a pleasure to participate in TIS forums and events. Look forward to the discussion today and hearing the full story from Hasmukh and Shailendra. I'll be sort of in the backdrop,
No,
contributing.
you're a domain expert. We want your profiling. You
Sure.
want your commentary, expert commentary. Really looking forward for your expertise in the discipline. Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Premnath. So we have a support team with us, which has been working with us in arranging this. So this session, as you know, that is presented by Society of Entrepreneurship Educators, C. I'll talk a little bit about C after a while. And this session host is our Center for Social Entrepreneurship with the help of Incubation Center team, which is a part of the School of Management and Labor Studies of Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So in the session, my colleague Amod Chandratre has helped us in research, and he will also be helping us in driving the conversation, especially moderating the Q&A session, and he will he will be collating the questions and helping us to drive through the session. So Amod, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Hi to the audience, and thanks MyLab team and Dr. Premnath. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward for a very exciting session ahead. Thank you.
And I have my colleague Nikita Narvekar. She has already spoken to you. She looks after the communication and conversation of this session. So Nikita, I'd like to say hello to the audience.
Hello, hello. Welcome. I welcome everyone to this session. I hope we have a good session ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have my colleague Sujay Dikshit, who heads our incubation center, outreach programs, and executive programs. He will be taking responsibility of summing up. So he will be taking down notes and working hard with all of us throughout the session to sum up the session. And he has been taking the expert position in profiling the session. So Sujay, would like to say hello.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. I welcome all the speakers to this forum. I'm quite excited as much as any other participant in this session to hear you all, and I formally welcome you all to this session.
Okay, so that's the introduction. So let me speak few words about our organization called Society of Entrepreneurship Educators. So this is an interest group organization, and we call it as Movement, which was set up in 2003, and it was the brainchild of Professor Kavil Ramchandran, and who teaches in ISB Hyderabad. So we thought of C as a body, as a movement of academicians initially, but eventually we opened it up, and now we have members from different disciplines. We have members from practitioner discipline, we have incubators, we have NGO partners, we have practicing entrepreneurs and companies. So we have now large pool. Our membership has gone up. Our family has grown bigger. So we work in the areas of research. We run business plan competitions, not exactly in the form of business plan competition, but more from the not from the competition challenge point of view, but more from the facilitation point of view. Also facilitate in consulting. We are creating database. Of course, our website is not very active. We are working on that. And of course, facilitating in training and hosting conferences. And we are looking at creating nodes across South Asian countries. So one of the active node we have in Kathmandu, Nepal, and we have Narottam Aryal. I hope he's there in the session. And we have Ashutosh ji, Ashutosh Tiwari ji, who is the president of C. We may see them somewhere in the audience. The mission of C is enhancing the quality of entrepreneurship education. So we all work together to see that the discipline of entrepreneurship gets prominence, and we strengthen the education discipline of in the domain of entrepreneurship across disciplines, science and technology, management, and undergraduate colleges, etc. So this is the team, as I said before. Mr. Ashutosh Tiwari is the president. Professor Jayashree Suresh is the vice president. I guess she's here. Secretary position is held by me. Joint secretary is Amit Trivedi from EDI, and Ram is the treasurer. So this forum is open for membership, and if you think that you would like to join this movement, it's a movement. It's an organization of interest group who believes that entrepreneurship can bring change in the society. So you may please write a simple email to me at my Gmail. The Gmail is there on the screen. satyajit.tiss@gmail.com. Kindly don't put request in the chat box because it will be difficult for us to track the chat box for any other reason than question and answer. So please write me a mail and I'll ensure that you are added in the Google group through which we communicate with all members. So just few words before we get into the session. We come from institute called Tata Institute of Social Sciences, established in 1936. We are deemed to be university with 4 campuses. The main campus is in Mumbai, and we have a rural campus in Tunjapur in Maharashtra. We have campus in Guwahati and Hyderabad. All the campuses have different field of specialization. They offer programs. A very limited undergraduate program, but most of the programs are master's program, MPhil and PhD programs. Very high presence in professional education, interdisciplinary research, advocacy, field actions, and professional support. So certainly, Center for Social Entrepreneurship is very relevantly placed in Tata Institute of Social Science. Our center offers own master's program. We have an online program as well. And we engage in incubation. We are a program partner with several major initiatives of Government of India, including BIRAC. And also we provide widespread outreach support and also engage with various disciplines, including science and technology, to ensure that entrepreneurship creates social impact, social and environmental impact. So with this, we'll start the session, and we welcome again our founding team and resource person of this session, Shailendra and Hasmukh, and of course the expert Dr. Premnath, and really feel happy to have them with us. My first question is to the founding team, and I'm not naming any one of them. I want both of them to spontaneously respond to the question. How do you get so quickly to the COVID testing kit, Patho Detect, in record time, record 6 months time? And I think that's where all of us felt very excited about. And we saw that the whole development took place only in 6 weeks. So how did you do that? How did you go about such ambitious timeline and got the things done? Shailendra and Hasmukh?
Yeah, I think Shailendra sir can add a good light on it.
Okay.
Good light on.
Frankly, sir, it is, if I have to put it in a proper perspective, we see these 6 weeks, but it is not just 6 weeks, because if you compare it with the Olympic Wrestling Championship, where you are fighting actually a match of say 5 minutes or 7 minutes or 8 minutes. But you have to do exercise for a whole 4 years or more than that.
Absolutely.
So we inherited those abilities which were required for this particular invention and development of this particular test. So we, being a company which has came from the core molecular diagnostic outlook, and we were always enabled to identify this kind of new challenge and respond it in record time. This is not the first time. Even in the future, if it happens, we know we will be the first, because it requires a human resource as well as technical capabilities, a technical resource also to be in place, so that whenever this kind of challenge is faced, then you can respond to it and you make a solution in a record time. So in short, my lab was poised for this particular challenge, and once it was thrown to us, we responded, and with the God's grace, we were successful.
Fantastic.
So that's it.
Fantastic. In fact, as I said before, every Indian feels proud about you. Okay, the great preparedness, great team, and I know it would have taken a great effort in R&D. So it's a lot of effort in because it's not easy to do it. It's such a record time. I'm sure we fully endorse that. There would have been a lot of preparedness, a lot of capability already built up, and that's how you could respond.
We inherited that.
You inherited that. Perfect, and that speaks about the culture of the organization as well. So not only the technical capability, but the culture. So Dr. Premnath, just to continue this point, as head of very reputed technology incubator, can you let us know the canvas of problems, especially the technology startups are looking into? and how they are taking up the critical roles. Of course, I'm not referring very specific to COVID-19 situation, though the context is that. But nevertheless, there are cases, and you are mentoring several of them. When the problem is highlighted, problem is seen, and we see our technology innovators, technology startups taking it up, and they resolve this problem. Of course, you have wonderful startups in Pune on waste management also. So just wanted to know how this problem canvas is visualized by the technology innovators.
Yeah, and let me just start by saying that in times such as this, in the COVID crisis, I think it was important for all entities to somehow be creative, and many of them repurposed and repositioned themselves in many different ways,
Yeah,
including, of course, my lab as well.
yeah,
But the capabilities had to be there, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
The resources and the right people had to be there. For example, to be able to do the right diagnostic, my lab would have to identify the right genes and all that in record time. So, while Shailen is being very modest, it is
Yeah,
important to realize that whatever they had to put together all the components at least, and in very quick succession,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I think that's a story with many other startups also.
yes,
We actually were very surprised when we saw that almost 25 plus of our startups repositioned themselves to do something for COVID,
right,
right?
right.
So, and there were, I'm just going to use that as an
Yeah,
example. But there were different aspects that people were dealing with and trying to address.
yeah,
One side, of course, were diagnostics related startups looking at multiple different ways diagnostics can be done for COVID-19.
yeah,
There were others who were looking at PPEs and various other protective devices.
yeah,
Yet others who were guys who were, say, looking at methods to study and to control antimicrobial resistance and so on,
yeah,
sort of reposition themselves to try and look at how sanitization and so on could be taken care of for
yeah,
COVID-19.
correct.
Then there were others who were looking at electronics, for example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we, in fact, there have been companies which have already set up and launched UV sterilization setups, which are in use in some hospitals right now
Okay.
for reuse of N95 masks and so on.
Yeah,
There is a thermal scanner which is in trial right now in one of the institutions in Pune. All this, I think, people were being very creative, utilizing their resources and strengths and repositioning them
yeah,
for this particular crisis.
okay,
But that said, generally speaking, I think every journey, entrepreneurial journey, is one of problem solving.
absolutely.
There has to be a customer who has
Yeah,
a problem and a need, and people are working towards solving it.
correct.
It's just that uh, the solution comes faster to a prepared mind, or somebody who has been working on something which is relevant, close by, having the pieces of the puzzle together, having the right networks and so on,
Correct.
then therefore being able to build upon it.
Yeah,
So problems, a whole variety of problems in the healthcare space. I think this particular crisis has brought healthcare to the forefront
yeah,
in a very new and different way.
yeah,
I hope it is not at the cost of other domains,
yeah,
but that said, I mean, we shouldn't swing the pendulum too far in every direction. I mean, in whichever direction there's a crisis. But that said, I think the problems that some of these startups are looking at are distinguished in certain ways, and I just
yeah.
wanted to take 1 or 2 minutes to talk about that.
Sure, sure.
So you will notice very often that many of these startups are typically working on problems which there is an element of foresight in
Yes.
the opportunity. Okay, that means they're looking at something which is a little ahead in the game.
Yeah,
they see an opportunity many other people don't.
Yeah.
They might see a small trivial business out there, especially
Yeah.
the big guys often miss that,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
don't see that attractive opportunity in it, especially in the context of the cash cows that they are sitting on.
Right. Right.
It looks small,
Yeah.
it doesn't look interesting,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's interesting enough for a startup,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And the startup believes firmly that someday it is going to become very big,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And those are the kind of opportunities that most of our startups very often look at, and it revolves around very often one or two or three founders
Hmm.
very critical to this
Yeah.
process, who believe,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
who are willing to make that leap of
Yeah.
faith,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
in that future opportunity,
Yeah.
even if others are ridiculing them or
Yeah.
embarrassing them,
Yes. Yes.
including their parents and their family and everybody
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
who believes that they are being either they're stretching it or they're pushing it beyond what
True.
is reasonably acceptable,
True.
and so
True.
on,
True. True.
right?
True. Yeah.
And of course, invariably, because it is a future opportunity, they have to do many things to raise resources,
True.
okay?
True.
Raising resources is a critical element of every startup's journey,
True.
because and convincing people that there is an opportunity, telling the story that there is an opportunity,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, a future opportunity,
Right.
uh, and finding champions for it,
Yes.
and raising resources, right?
Yeah.
And of course, as even I'm sure my lab will tell you, you have to also make a living. So you look at all other
Yes.
opportunities that will keep
Yes.
you going
Yeah.
until, say, a good opportunity comes by which lets you grow, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you can latch on to. And
Yeah.
hopefully you're prepared at that time with the right people besides you, the right resources, the right knowledge,
Yeah.
capabilities, the
Yes.
right linkages. I'm sure my lab also, an essential element of their success is also their ability to arrange all the parts together, right?
Absolutely.
Having the
Absolutely.
right vendors, knowing
Absolutely.
what to source from
Correct.
where,
Yeah. Yeah.
having the knowledge of the disease, getting the right team members in,
Mm.
the money at the right time probably.
Yeah.
So I think they'll tell you more about it. But
Correct.
this is the typical story of a startup.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
most of our startups fall in this
Yeah.
in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So basically, yeah, that's interesting. So you have put the whole canvas really nicely. So there is something which you see as a problem which others don't see. I'm just reminded of Clayton Christensen's the discussion on that. Then forcing the opportunity which is not evident, so it will come, and then managing resources, putting them together to make it a business sense, to make it a market relevance story. So coming back to the same point to our founding team of my labs, Shailendra and Hasmukh, what is the story of so many verticals? You are in clinical diagnostics, you are in pharma, you are in animal and food safety, and many others, right? So, so maybe you can take one or two examples. And since we are discussing more about diagnostics, maybe if you want, you can take diagnostic for example. But we are okay if you can tell us a little bit more about diagnostics and then to other disciplines. How do you do it? Okay, how do you foresee a problem? I'm not saying that you are a superman to see that, but what is the sense making? How do you look at the canvas? How you get the senses in? Okay, and try to decode the senses and put something together, which you think will be a business later. And there could be hiccups, there could be gaps. If I use the word failures, I'm sure there would have been. There would have been assessment mistakes. I'm sure that could have been there at some point of time. We would like to know how do you do it as a process, because we are trying to understand the whole process of technology innovation and putting into the business. So over to you, both of you. We would like to listen to your story more on this.
Sir, as rightly said by Premnath sir, there are always challenges, and you have to find ways in which you believe there is a right path, but still you have to make a living out of it. So
Correct.
the reason for multiple verticals with my lab is also the same. Though we believe that molecular diagnostic in human healthcare is of very importance, and a country like India needs such in-house solution for it. Where it is a mandatory test in most of the developed world. While India, even not 7 years back when we started this,
Yeah.
journey, we knew India is not even a percent of a molecular diagnostic
Right.
testing.
Right.
But when the technology is accepted so widely all over the world, why doesn't it is able to address the world where most of the it is a population-based test? So
True.
definitely we believed that a high-end test made very simple and made economical to the masses will definitely help.
Yeah.
But of course, human healthcare, human regulatory approvals is a lengthy process.
Yeah.
So we had to see a verticals where we would still make some living out of it while we keep building a plant, building a team, building technical resources, capabilities to build a solution. So yes, it was a journey where we had to build piece by piece. Some of the verticals like agriculture or maybe veterinary doesn't require much of the stringent regulatory clearances, so we develop start earning out of it while we fund a high-end clinical trial required areas in human healthcare. Even for the COVID, we had developed far tricky, I'll say, more technically compliant products before COVID.
Okay.
As good as a test called NAT,
Okay.
test which is mandatory on every blood bag, but not even a compulsory test in country like us or maybe all developing world.
Okay.
Because the price becomes an issue.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult test to make, and we are the third in the world to get the
Oh,
license for it.
fantastic.
But sometimes it takes, because we are prepared for a more difficult solution,
Yeah.
we could bring up a test like COVID in short time,
Yeah.
and that's where we could make a glory. And I think all of our hard work was recognized because
Absolutely.
we have developed a fast test.
Right, right. So it is not that you always have a very specific target. You have a domain. You have a domain of expertise which you built up over a time. And sometimes as opportunity come, you try to sort of see how that mix and
Yeah, the
match can be
most
done.
important parts are we are very close to the customer.
Oh,
We are most of our founding team,
yeah.
even the directors in the company, we are
Yeah.
sales guys with a technical background. So
Perfect.
we understand techno-commercial aspects, and what we decide first is what customer will definitely purchase.
True, true.
Price is secondary. The product, we don't have a biasness because we make it. Has to be good.
Correct.
We always are very close to the customer. We know their needs, and our always mission is to make more and more simpler, easier, and cost.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
Shalendra, would you
that's how the
like to have
domain
anything?
starts
Yeah.
coming because it's there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Great, interesting. So, actually, if you look at your portfolio of innovation, there are many actually. So, as Dr. Premnath also said, most of the time, sometimes we think we are ahead of time. Somebody has not muted mic. Can you ensure that the audience has muted mic? I see somebody called Isha Gupta.
Professor Majumdar, I think you're also on mute.
Oh, okay, okay. So actually, Nikita has muted me as well. Sorry. Okay. So, so what I'm saying is, we have seen my labs, and of course, that could have been the story of other technology entrepreneurs also. This little going ahead of time is something sense making out of the making message sense making, putting it together. I think these are some of the things which we see happening. So basically, I'm trying to kind of draw some meaning of this discussion and try to see the innovator space or innovation space. And Dr. Premnath, my question is to you that uh, do you believe is there a particular flow? Is there a particular algorithm? Whether the idea comes first or the problem comes first. So or idea problem go hand in hand. So what's that actually? And sometimes when we see idea comes first, that's our experience, and I'm sure that has been your experience also. The love for idea supersedes everything. So then the market readiness and decoding the market signal becomes little secondary, and people start sort of not very happy about when the market signals are little harsh, and particularly if the market signals are negative, it's contrary to the business idea. So we'd like to know that what is the story, the commercial viability, the idea, the problem. What is the story? How it gets converted into market opportunity in general, and of course, what's your understanding about my labs, because you have seen my labs very closely.
Yeah, so let me just talk a little bit about that first.
Yeah.
So the see, I tend to take one step back even before an idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So I tend to talk about the two approaches, which is either problem first or solution first,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I don't really have a bias towards either of them.
Okay.
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 I think both are equally important and equally fine. It is
Okay.
just that it's easier to understand a problem first approach.
Right.
Okay. And very often people who are looking at the market from a short term lens very often will go for a problem focused approach, and it is more tangible, easier to understand.
Yeah.
And very often investors also like this story when you tell a story which is problem, right?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that you can start your journey either picking up a problem area
Yeah.
and saying that, let me look for solutions here. And
Yeah.
then when what I call an idea is when the problem and a solution come together.
Okay.
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 So the question is, uh, so let's say my lab, sorry, Shailendra, I might be extrapolating a little bit, right? You can
Yeah,
correct
no
me
problem.
whenever you want to. Okay. so, they have broadly defined that they want to be in the diagnostics space, right? That is the problem area that they are looking for solutions, right? And I think my lab has been a very market focused company, just like Hasmukh just now said. The focus has been on being, as he said, close to customers, so looking at customer needs from time to time. So they would respond to customer needs and whatever emerges as a pressing problem at any given time, right? For that, they have built a set of capabilities in their company. They have a set of tools, they have a set of people, they have a set of facilities which allow them to do it. And in the very beginning, they have picked up a certain more specific problem, which relates to blood banks, and said that let's look at diagnostics for that, right?
Okay.
And they have built a competency around it. Now, with that competency, understanding of the market, with understanding of with the networks that they have created over time, the team members that they had built over time, their own networks, and so on and so forth. When opportunity, or rather, let's say, a new problem which needs a solution comes knocking, they have something to get started with, right? And they had something to get started with, which was more appropriate than many research labs, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, because they had probably all the right tools
Yeah.
in place, the right people.
Yeah.
Some of the diagnostics they had to build, they had to also source all these materials.
True.
Okay,
True.
sourcing is not the forte of research labs, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But they knew how to do it,
Yeah.
right? They could tie up their supply chains,
Yeah.
right? They knew what they also were committed to taking it through regulatory approvals.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were very early in recognize and seeing that as an opportunity and pursuing it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there were many others who were working on similar techniques,
Yeah.
okay, even in
Yeah.
research labs, but
Yeah.
they didn't see that as an opportunity at that time, at the earliest stages, when China put out the genome, or
Yes.
somebody identified a few genes
Yeah.
which needed to be identified in order to have a proper diagnostic test, right?
Right. Right.
And it doesn't end there, because many academic labs would hesitate to go down the regulatory pathway. They may take their own time. They need to produce a product in a proper facility which is reproducible, get it through approvals, testing, so on and so forth. Not
Yeah.
everybody's cup of tea, right? So
Absolutely.
I think, it's to their credit, to Shailendra and Hasmukh's credit, that they saw the opportunity at the right time and were at the right place and prepared for that
Yeah.
opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I think since they also deal with a variety of other chemicals, reagents, and so on and so forth for such products,
Yeah.
diagnostics and other analysis,
Yeah.
they were in a position to identify all the vendors also in time, right?
Yeah. So I'll just intervene for a minute, Dr.
Yeah,
Pranath. Would like to go. We'll take up your
please.
session there. So just wanted to know from Hasmukh and Shailendra, was it by chance or was it your by design? Of course, it's not design in that real sense, but is it very strongly on the preparedness? Yeah.
Is it very strongly on the
You're asking about the COVID kit, sir, or what?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
asking about the COVID
In
itself?
general, I think COVID
Yeah,
is
yeah.
incidents actually. Yeah.
In general, I think COVID is incidents actually.
Okay. So it is not by chance, sir. We were
So
not
it is
hesitant
not by
because
chance, sir.
I think there is a echo.
No, it's okay.
Hello.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is not by chance
Okay.
because even before COVID, there was Ebola and few other viruses where
Yeah.
we were ready and
Okay.
we were preparing our kits and doing this.
Yeah.
So because we had a memory of this kind of pandemics, we had
Okay.
seen H1N1.
Yeah.
That time we were not having lab and the facility.
Okay.
After H1N1, COVID was the only pandemic which has hit us. Uh, Although of course COVID is too big for
Yeah. Yeah.
H1N1, but
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
it is that kind of pandemic.
Right.
And it was surely not by chance, it was by choice that we
Okay.
wanted to develop this kind of thing, because if not, then who? We were the first
Absolutely.
Indian molecular biology company who has made this NAT test, who had made the markers like HIV, HCV, HBV,
Uh-huh.
and COVID was quite a simpler test if you can consider NAT in
Oh,
front of it.
okay.
So surely it was a choice which we had taken, and we
Okay.
had gone ahead with it with full force.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Thank
as
you.
Dr. Premnath rightly said, uh, it is not just about developing the kit. There are
Hmm.
10 different things: sourcing
Hmm.
the raw material,
Hmm.
finding out the correct supplier, finding out batch to batch consistency,
Yeah.
producing it into the millions of numbers.
Yeah.
So it is not that easy. I
Okay.
mean, we cannot tell you how many hurdles were there.
I know. I know.
And
Yeah.
basically we will give the credit to our team.
Right.
MyLab is a team company. We always heard from the every team member we have. We
Yeah.
always respect each other's opinions, and
Yeah.
that's why the responsibility and success both are shared.
Yeah.
And that's why our outlook is quite wide. It is
Yeah.
never a narrow outlook of an entrepreneur who just has his own
Right.
presumptions, who is working on his own likings and dislikes, and something like that. We have
Okay.
a team. The team contributes in the views, in the decisions, and
Yeah.
in the success also.
Fantastic. So I think it's not a love for your own idea. It's basically the collective,
Exactly.
actually, the collective
It
which
is
makes it.
collective
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
collective
Yeah.
responsibility, collective success.
Absolutely. So sorry, Dr. Brahmat, I intervened you in between. So you may please continue. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to point out that the entrepreneurial journey. One of the things you will find is, yes, people are passionate about. They have to take that leap of faith and be passionate about what they wish to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think most good entrepreneurs are also very quick to catch on to
Yeah.
emerging opportunities,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that is also a very important trait, because it's the nimbleness of a startup and its ability to respond faster
Yeah.
that also distinguishes it from many large companies.
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
I mean, the MyLab team must surely have sort of just decided that, let's take this on, right?
Yeah.
uh, and it is quite possible that other
Yes,
companies
it
thought,
is
why
quite possible that other
sorry, I
thought,
think
why,
echo coming from
sorry, I think,
somebody's phone. So, or there is is somebody using two machines, two instruments?
Yeah.
There's
Looks like.
probably an,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's gone now.
Yeah.
Fine, let me
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sure.
I think that it's that ability to respond fast and pick up on an idea and move on it, right?
Hmm.
See, please also remember that, when you look at this in hindsight, okay, that's fine, but you can imagine that there is considerable risk and uncertainty involved at the time when somebody is beginning that activity, right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Even today, I'm sure my lab has risks and uncertainties,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
sense, when they have to scale up, they don't know how much to scale up, and when
Yes.
their supply, when their
Yeah.
demand will dry up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in that context, it's not this decision to go after it, okay, is something, I think, which startups very often find it easier sometimes,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
because the big companies have their own processes of taking such decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I do agree. I mean, I can understand that it could have been a collective effort, but you know, some buck has to stop with somebody in my lab, right? That
Yeah.
must be one of them, Hasmukh or Shailendra.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that must be only 2 or 3 layers. It may not
Absolutely.
be at least 10 layers, right?
True.
So
True.
we
True.
can talk about it in terms of how they go about
Yeah. Yeah.
taking the decision and just moving on it.
Yeah, yeah, fine. So maybe we can take a pause. Amod, I see many questions in the chat box. So if you can collate few of them, at least one theme, we can take some questions from the audience. Yeah, Amod.
Yes.
Yeah,
So there are two major themes. In fact, the
yeah.
first theme is how did MyLab turn it in 6 weeks? The
Okay.
exact question is how, any development when any company or corporate does, it requires
Yeah,
a roadmap, monitoring, review.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Doing that in 6 weeks obviously seems very impossible.
yeah, yeah,
And to add on to that, so this question was from Mr. Sudhir. And
yeah.
to add on to that, Mr. Aditya Ramesh is asking how does a startup runs a sprint,
Hmm.
especially during the crisis time like COVID?
Yeah, yeah. So I think partially this part was answered, but
Yes.
Hasmukh and Shalendra, would you like to add something more than that?
Yeah, so sir, regarding the 6 week preparation, I think we can trace it back where we still have a, and again the idea came from one of our team member only, where we thought that, as Shailendra sir rightly said, sometimes we have to do the right thing. Despite, in fact, there was a time when we thought whether really COVID will hit India, whether there will be even a need of some tests, or at least, or how much quantity of tests we should start looking into procurements. Because the scale can be right from 1,000 tests to a lakhs of tests. So even in the beginning, when we wanted to really make a test, we didn't know how much to plan it, how much to really invest on, because we first of all thought it may not even hit India in that level, because the way we were preparing in most of the countries, they are not such a big. Apart from China, we have been not hearing much about COVID in other countries.
Yeah,
So yes, of course, but our team said, if not us, who will? It is the right thing to do, and we said at least let's prepare some thousands of tests and be ready. If anybody needs it, how the country or the lab will be able to run the test if they don't have such test ready.
yeah,
Regarding the 6 week plan, it's not only about the test preparation plan. It's about sourcing. It's about having the right plan of test. I still remember there was a time when even the logistic had to be planned, and one of our team members flew from Bombay to Bangalore to collect the material and came same within 2 hours back to Pune, so that
yeah,
we every hour we were saving.
yeah,
So it's a multiple efforts, right from our R&D team, production team,
yeah.
manufacturing team, QC team. Everybody
Yeah.
was on there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can feel that. Basically, it's a convergence of many things, right? It's not one discipline or one team. It's several people come together, okay, to see that happening. I think, yeah, I think that would have made it happen. The entire value chain, entire the value delivery has to be articulated that way. What was the second part of the question, Amod?
No,
Could we
the
get the
second
right answer?
question was, yeah, Mr. Sudhir has asked how important role the market intelligence plays.
Okay, market intelligence. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Or do you do any market intelligence in real sense, or it is your
Uh,
customer engagement which is good enough? Yeah,
yes, sir. So we don't pay any party or any marketing company. Being a
yeah,
startup, we can't afford to pay for all marketing services.
yeah,
They charge
yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
But I think our closeness to the customers is very, very important, and no company in the world will be ever successful if they don't know what actually the customer wants.
yeah,
Most of the startups, be it in biology or be it in any other industry, we have seen failing because the entrepreneur thinks whatever they make, or the R&D guys think whatever they make will definitely work. It
true.
should be other way around. We should know first what customers will procure, and
Yeah,
then we should do our R&D. So I think
right,
market intelligence is very
right,
crucial.
right, right. Even Dr. Premnath also said that market centricity is very high. As I think that's the DNA of my labs, and of course that need to be there. Yeah, yeah. Shalendra, would you like to add anything more than this?
Basically, market centricity is important because for two reasons. One
Yeah,
is no technology is permanent. Technology is changing.
yeah,
Customer needs are changing because the customer is also serving to somebody else.
Yes.
So when the need change, the supply chain also changes. So
Absolutely.
you have to have your people, and then you have to have the ability to think beyond your idea. Because
True.
many times what happens, the entrepreneurs think that whatever they think they are thinking is the best,
Yeah.
but that may not be the true. You have to hear a lot many things. You have to have the ability to get counter attacked by your colleagues, your
Yeah.
customers, your
Yeah.
suppliers, and everybody.
Yeah.
So the more you listen, more you speak, more you interact, the more the chances of success are more.
Right. Right. So that leads to me another question. So what is the tipping point? Because you also need to build up confidence. If not you as
Yes,
individual, but you as a team. What is the tipping point when you say, "Oh,
yes.
we got it. Now let us do it." So what is that tipping point?
In our case, sir, the product basically, one is the market requirement is the tipping point. Second is the product being the best.
Okay.
There cannot be in biology, especially in molecular biology,
Yeah.
there cannot be a 99.99%. It has to be 100%.
Yeah.
So molecular biology is yes or
We lost you, Shalindra. I think some issue with the network.
something like that. So the
Okay.
tipping point, yes, the
Shalindra,
test is
sorry, we
there.
lost you for last 10 seconds or so. Uh, we lost you for last 10 seconds. So can you complete
Okay.
last statement? Yeah, yeah. So can you
Yeah,
repeat
so
the
I
last?
was saying in from two aspects. One is the acceptance of the product,
Yeah,
wherein the market accepts the product. That is, I will say the tipping point is always a perceptive tipping point, because you can really not gauge or judge that whether it is 100% acceptance or no. That
yeah,
is your confidence and your reading of the market. That is one thing.
yeah.
Second tipping point is about the product, and
Hmm.
in molecular biology, it cannot be 99.99%. It is
Yeah,
always 100%. So
yeah,
molecular biology, the product has to be 100% accurate. And
yeah,
we all believe in that. So 100% is 100% success in product accuracy is
yeah,
another tipping point for us
yeah,
to bring the
yeah.
product in the market.
Right. So, Dr. Premnath, on this, I have a question. What is the role of mentor in the whole process? How mentoring and how mentor as an individual, mentoring as a process influences the whole decision-making process?
Um, yeah, I don't want to overemphasize the importance of a mentor. I think
Okay.
the center stage belongs to the entrepreneur, right?
Okay.
Uh, they are the key players in the
Yeah.
sense that very often um, they even have to choose between what different mentors say
Hmm.
and decide who they want to go with. So at the end of it, I think it is about the entrepreneur jumping in, okay,
Yeah.
and going ahead with it. So
Yeah.
what the mentor can contribute to is there are several things that a mentor can help with, right? Very often, there is in the very early stages when a startup is just beginning,
Yeah.
there is a uh, lot of people they hear from who are naysayers,
Hmm.
who tend to bring in a little bit of a negative story of how things won't work, or
Yeah.
it is not a great market, or whatever it is. It could
Yeah.
even be other potential investors talking about it, and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think in the very beginning, without being patronizing, a mentor has to be positive, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And also, while sort of articulating, while helping the startup put story together,
Yeah.
it's often about asking difficult questions without sort of putting them down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Since it's not about telling that you're wrong, it is about asking the question so that they can refine it as they go along. If they
Right.
want to change
Right.
and pivot, that's up to them. That's okay as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think at a little later stage, it's there's a lot to do with the right connects. Okay, the keeping sometimes it's also about the right advice and opinions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very often, many science entrepreneurs come from non-business backgrounds.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and also some who come from business backgrounds may or may not have may not understand the culture of science, okay,
True.
and
True.
the fact how scientific community values different things, right? So there's a little bit of a dichotomy, as Dr. Mashelkar talks about, Lakshmi and Saraswati, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that there is a certain way people who are knowledge workers look at it, and there's a certain way how businesses look at it.
Yeah.
And if you're too far away on either side, in a
Yeah.
scientific business, you tend to suffer very often.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's about bringing that middle path, in my opinion, where you're able to balance the two appropriately and take it ahead.
True. True.
I think at the later stage, it's all about business decisions, raising money, networks, and so on as you get later in the game. The
Yeah.
early stages, it is all about value propositions, getting a story right, understanding, and that's where I think mentors come in different forms.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I just want to add one more point.
Sure.
I do appreciate my lab's thinking, which is very market focused, but I wanted to present a slightly different view as well,
Okay.
which is it's important that you're market focused. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happens typically, you will find is that if you're exclusively market focused, you tend to limit yourself very often to the technologies which are easily available.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's things which are difficult to gather. Okay, time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that means you have to invest time and efforts in building those.
Yeah.
So I always advocate, I think that both these approaches are fine, which is that you can start with a problem and a market focus on one side, or you can start with a solution or a technology focus on the other side.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to marry the two. Okay.
True.
At which point you marry it is your choice, but it is very often shaped by others around you, like investors and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, in the Indian context, the investors tend to take a little shorter term view. And I don't blame them. That is so because of the fact that there are other, if you take just their ability to make money, they have other opportunities available. Okay. So they weigh it against that.
Yes.
But in other places, there might be actually investors who might say that just build your IP assets first, okay, and don't worry about the market need immediately. So it's a matter of it's a matter of how there are different business philosophies, different types of investors, different types of taking things to the market, and I think both are feasible. Okay. Clearly, the one that is easier to understand in the Indian context is the market focused one, right? And it is reasonable that people follow that more often. But as an inventive enterprises incubator, I tend to also support those who are working on foundational technologies, okay, which will be essential for certain markets. But the market doesn't see it yet. Right. And of course, it's not an endless picnic that you can be on, where it's not a research exercise, right? But that said, there is a space for that, right? So I'll stop with that.
Fine. So I'm sure our audience are a bit curious to know a little bit about your personal journey, Shailendra and Hasmukh, that how you became entrepreneur. Are you entrepreneur first or a technocrat first? I don't know. So just quick personal story for both of you. Maybe then we go back to the business of COVID. Okay. Yeah.
Chandra sir, I think you can only.
Yeah. So basically, Hasmukh and myself both were from the middle class families, and we started our journey as employees of multinational companies.
Okay.
We were working together in a company called Thermo Fisher, which is a big giant, and I have experience of around 15 to 18 years now. Hasmukh has experience of around 10 years now in this particular field. So we were colleagues, and most of our team members in my lab were our colleagues. So if you see the personal side of it, this is my lab or business is a dream which we all have seen together.
Wow.
And from there, the journey starts. So
Okay.
we had spent a lot of our time in understanding this particular technology,
Yeah.
understanding the requirement, understanding the business, and uh, we have invested that time. And
Okay.
that's why when we entered into this our own business,
Yeah.
we will say that we were knowing the challenges, that what we are going to face, what we are going to miss, what we are going to gain,
Yeah.
everything was known, and there was a readiness for the unknown also.
Right.
So that was the thing. And if you see the personal journey, uh, both of us are MSc in biotechnology, and I'm not going into the CVs and all. But then it was a dream which we all have seen together,
Yeah.
and we are on the way of walking on the same dream.
Yeah. So how do you resolve difference of opinion,
Uh,
the fundamental difference of opinion
By
between you
fighting with
two?
each other.
just to add
By
also,
fighting with each other.
no, sir. I don't remember we had ever a fight. Yeah, of course, we had debates
Yeah.
on things which we have to take a call mutually, where we might have a difference of opinion. But
Yeah.
it is very rare event, because more or less we both are in well sync, and as well as our team is, and we are also okay to adjust the opinion. Once the decision is taken, it is for the team. Then we all follow that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Just to add also on a journey, we both started this journey with a 5 lakh rupees loan. I
Yeah.
still remember I personally had a very hard time, because I was just an entry point with no background, and not a with a poor family, with nothing in hand. Four banks have rejected a loan that time as well. But yes, if you have a right will, and you keep moving towards the direction, I think definitely the team the people will join you, who will be able to support you.
That's
Just to add, sir, Premnath sir also came upfront. He himself advised us, and things will happen if you keep moving. I think people will definitely come and
yeah.
support you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good team always attracts good people, isn't it?
Correct, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
Correct.
yes, sir.
Great. So, how do you visualize growth of my lab? What is your growth visualization? I'm not asking you to tell me the business plan. I'm saying visualization of growth,
Uh,
innovation piece, market piece, business piece. How do you visualize the growth?
so it's just not the numbers. We as we said, we just to give you idea, the whole year, the number of tests in a year we could make in the same facility, we made it within a week,
Oh,
last week.
oh,
So it's about how fast you adjust
yeah,
to the situation without adding much more resources. We didn't added a more plant
yeah,
to all this. In the same plant, we could achieve it.
yeah,
So yes, preparedness for the future is very important. So there are two, three aspects where we see the growth. One is, of course, being ready for a challenge like COVID, where we should have a resources in place to not only make it, but also quickly scale it up. Second is also making it simpler for the customer. Today, high-end molecular test requires high-end technical expertise, a lot of people, lot of area, and there are many hurdles. So we have made a solution, but it has to be very easy for the customer to use it also.
right,
Today, only India have, if you see, ICMR is only 400 around lab where COVID test can happen.
yes,
We want to make sure that it can be possible at any village, or even in a mobile van. So we are making a machine which will do it very easily without a manual intervention.
yeah.
So
In fact,
we
that
are
was
to
my,
making it easy for the customer.
yeah, yeah. So, so how much of your manufacturing is in-house, and how much you depend with the partners? As a
So right now,
yeah,
uh, yeah, I think Shalendra sir may add, but just to give you idea, right now we have almost Indianized every component apart from one or two, where also we have started a project wherein we will make 100% India dependency. On
okay,
the machine part, we are 100% made in India, not even a single component where we are dependent upon international supply.
Fantastic.
So I think we are Atmanirbhar even before it was declared.
Okay,
We
okay,
have
okay.
we have it on that.
No, that's a great news. That's a very exciting
Yes,
news,
sir.
and
Yes.
I'm sure all our audience must be feeling proud about this statement. Okay, it's not about.
But again, it came out of the challenge, sir. We went
I know.
to China to
Trust, sir, we
last year, 1.5 year back, we have.
China to source the components, to source the parts, but even they could not see the vision what we had. We had to come at a price
Yeah,
to make it affordable for the masses. We don't
yeah,
have insurance for the healthcare in India.
yeah.
So the machines, the cost, the test, everything has to fall in place.
Right.
So it was also a challenge. See, we said, why not we make it? And we started on the machine as well. We are the first company even on that part where we
Yeah.
are making our own machines.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very contrary to what we normally observe. People try to outsource to get the get the cost efficiency.
Sir,
We make
China
other
China
route.
is also costly, sir. I'm only thing is they make it in bulk, and
Yeah,
in India you would not see a single plant having all
okay.
the things. So
Yeah,
for
yeah,
different aspects of the product, we have to rely on other parts.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it makes it costly.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
possible to make it economical here as
yeah. Good, good. So Amod, any more question?
There is, in fact, there is a very pertinent question at this point.
Yeah,
Mr. Kuwar Rajiv Singh is asking, how many
yeah,
kits are being supplied currently considering our COVID numbers are shooting up?
yeah.
And how much
well.
one kit cost?
In the beginning, the costs were very high, of course, because of the raw material shortage across the globe, and be it us or be it, and when the exports were allowed, the countries who can pay more will get a charge of the things. But right now, the prices have dropped very rapidly. Even we have come forward, have reduced. Even when we launched, we were 1/4 of the imported cost. Today, also, we are almost half of what price we launched. Secondly, the number of testing, though we have been the major supplier for the country because we are being first. We are the first, the major supplier as a local manufacturer. But very recently, we have seen a little drop in the demand from the government. I think they are preparing either they have enough stocks or there is a little slowdown. But I think with more and more cases coming,
Okay. Yeah, of course.
as on date, we have capacity of around 1.2 million tests a week.
Okay.
We have built a capacity, and we have enough inventory also in place with us.
Okay. Wow. Very good. Very good. So, so Dr. Premnath, as a mentor, as a guide, of course, a reputed incubation center as well. Uh, how this system supports this kind of need-based innovation to put it into business context, need to the service of the people. I'm referring more from the accessibility and affordability. What's the role of incubation centers? Because we have quite a few people from incubation network also, so it will maybe valuable to them.
I think there are, first of all, many startups work on pressing problems of society,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, and I think very often, as I always maintain, the first role of the incubator is to be a home for all these lonely entrepreneurs.
yeah, yeah,
They, it is a lonely journey,
yeah.
and they need to find a place where there are other such people who are pursuing similar
Right,
journeys.
right.
So I think that is an important starting point. That does help a lot, and there's a lot of peer-to-peer learning as well
Yeah,
in general.
yeah.
There is also the aspect that you bring together certain shared resources from time to time, right? So incubators such as ours is able to sort of reduce some of the capex and requirements of companies, and therefore be able to reduce some of their early stage costs and therefore the risks that they are taking.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, all these startups are basically taking some risk and then climbing out of it. Okay.
right,
The
right.
difference usually between some of these scientific startups or those which are more deep science or have a longer time duration to be successful is that their IRR, their internal rate of returns, comes down because of the either the deeper they are going in risk or
Yeah,
the longer they are taking to be in the red. Okay.
right, right.
So obviously the temptation of every entrepreneur is to try and be in the green, right? So you would want to
Right.
climb out as quickly as possible and be out there, right?
Yeah,
But it is also a fact that you have to be, if you want to do certain kinds of products, especially deep science products, you have to be ready to accept the red also, right?
True.
And it's the government's job, and also not only the government's job, it's our society's job to reduce the how deep they go, or how big the area, how deep the big hole is, that they get stuck in. So that happens through shared facilities, reducing barriers. For example, somebody like my lab, for them, if they have a lot of regulatory barriers, which are, if they are very bureaucratic or slow moving or unfair, it increases their risk. Okay? And that is not okay, in my opinion. But that said, so these are all the things that people can work on and improve on, and I think incubators have a role in all of these aspects for many of these startups. But my lab, I think Venture Center's contribution is only in helping them with some CSR support. We are happy to support them, and to champion their cause, okay, and give them the right connects. But I think a lot of credit is due to the two of them who have who and their team, which has driven this activity, to this where they've been very effective in this current episode. Okay.
Right.
So I just wanted to add one thing, sir.
Sure.
To Premnath sir. See, the journey, although we are new joining in the Venture Center and all these things, but the thing is, journey of my lab will not be ending here, and we are actually taking a little bit different path, wherein, as you correctly said, we have to go towards the innovations now. We have done the things which are required by the society, and we are successful in that. Now we have to do the things which will be required by society with our innovations. So in that particular thing, the role of Dr. Premnath and Venture Center will be of paramount importance.
So there's a question, how big is the team? How big is the MyLab team?
So right now we are a team of around 50 professionals in different aspects. Most of them are from scientific background, few of them are from sales, few are in the logistics, accounts, and so.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, if you don't mind?
Yes, please.
I want to ask Shailendra this question. Okay?
Please.
See, I just wanted to understand, it's actually very exciting how the timelines of what you did were also important and interesting. And, so roughly, I think China announced some of this information on the pandemic and the genome and all of that by, say, end of Jan. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
And probably our lockdown was closer to last week of March. Am I right?
Yes.
So when did you guys submit your things for ICMR and for CDSCO approvals? And
I remember some March 12, 10 we submitted the application.
We have submitted on March 15, before March 15 basically.
Yes, and March
17 we submitted the batches, and March
we got the approval.
So look at the timelines, and it's very interesting that you were able to productize, standardize, and take it to ICMR and CDSCO for approvals. And by the way, somebody had asked whether it was, did the lockdown sort of stop you? So actually, some of the submissions you had done before lockdown, right? And lockdown happened. Of course, it affected probably to some little extent your supply chains, but otherwise, you were all prepared to be the batch of suppliers for some of the kits, right?
Correct.
And also the other remarkable thing was that in the first batch that ICMR looked at various kits, you guys were the top, among the top two, in the sense that two who did the 100% concurrence data.
Yes.
And we were also shocked and surprised to see that all the biggies like Roche were below.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's where, sir, sometimes the largest giant are not able to move fast.
Yeah,
It needs flexibility of a startup
yeah,
with the right mindset.
Would
yeah.
you say that your choice of genes and so on and so forth were very critical to
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
it is. It is. So we did a lot of surveys, publication surveys. We have also plan B, plan C in place, like what kind of sets of genes, if not these, would be there. We have ordered those also, taking the anticipation that everything may not be ready always in time. We did our own validation. I remember for 5 or 6 days before we submitted the batches, every night the whole team was planning the experiments to make sure that we don't miss anything in our studies. And then only once we are 100% sure, as Chandra sir said, in biology it has to be 100% sure, then only we submitted. What
Yeah.
happens is most of the multinational, we may not be able to comment, but because we have worked there, they are very slow to move, even slow to take a decision and even slow to move. So I think they might have not considered the right thing, or may not be, because they've moved far ahead. It would be difficult for them to change it later as.
Yeah. So sorry for the digression, Professor Majumdar, but
No,
I
no,
thought
that's a
that
very
was
important.
very
Yeah, no, no, that's very important piece of discussion. I think good that you brought it actually. So that's more about the journey of this COVID, which we are trying to decode. That's the central theme. So maybe we can take one question and we'll try to
Yeah.
close the discussion. We are already, I think we could notice that we have covered 75 minutes of time. Okay, in the session. So I saw somebody raising hand. Amod, can we check? Who wants to ask a question? Maybe we can.
So there are two questions which I
Okay.
would. So one is from Mr. Venkaya.
Yeah.
He wants to know while designing. Obviously, everyone would encounter failure.
Yeah.
How does my lab has overcome such failures in designing the kit?
Failures.
Has there been or anything? What was the approach?
Yeah. So I think let us take this question first. Yeah. So I'm sure that's a part of the journey. Product
Yes.
development, market development. The failure is a part of journey. Yeah. So would you like to answer, Hasmukh or Sharindra?
So definitely, when even for the COVID, we, as I said, we have multiple set of genes, multiple set of experiments planned. Some of them moved ahead, some of the combination didn't work. So yes, it did, but the planning in place, having all the components in place to make sure that if A doesn't work, B is there, or B plan B doesn't work, C or D should be there. So, and that's not only for the kit. We do this for sourcing, we do this for finance management. Uh, uh, and be it any other aspect, we always, as a company, we have always we keep plan B and plan C in place. Though we hope plan A should work, but that's the policy of my lab. We always ask, if doesn't, then what if, and are we prepared for that journey as well? So be it a success or a failure, we always keep that as in mind,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and we are always ready.
Okay. So how's the collective knowledge management system works during such occasions?
Luckily, we have a different team member for different job. There is a clear bifurcation. There is a R&D team. There is a QC team. QC team it doesn't report to R&D team. So the whatever the R&D team makes, the QC team directly reports to us. And even let it be a batch is made, even we can't take a decision to pass a batch. If the QC. So QC has the biggest right, and that's how we make sure that the right product goes to the process. There's a manufacturing team, there is a sourcing team. So yes, and they are luckily we have a right people. We could find right people in all this, last 7 years. We
Yeah.
could find the right people for the right spot,
Yeah.
and I think they do their job best. That's why we are here.
Right. 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 So what's the question? What's the other question, Amod? Maybe we can consider that as the last question of this session.
Yeah, this question, I suppose, is to Mr. Premnath, Dr. Premnath. Sir, the question is, as a mentor, what's the ideal role of mentor? Is it just the advice or the opinion, or just the facts and figures to a real startup, or it's a mix of both?
Okay, Dr. Premnath. So
Yeah.
mentoring again.
I think I covered some of that, so I'll keep it
Yes.
brief. Basically, I see you know this the role of a mentor and a mentee. There's a lot of chemistry involved. in the
Yes.
sense that not everything gels, not everything works. It's a little fluid kind of a thing where every person is different, their needs are different, and mentor may or may not have the right capabilities or the connects or this for helping that particular startup.
Yeah.
So it is one of the things that makes it challenging is that it is always case to case, right?
Mhm.
There's no formula to mentoring, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there are some general rules.
Yeah.
One is that a mentor should listen more, right? Very often, if you're a very senior person who has seen a lot, you tend to have an opinion very quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Temptation.
Especially with startups,
Yeah.
you have to be very careful because the whole premise on which they are starting is that some of the biggies and experienced people are wrong. you know
Absolutely.
so so you have to know to keep an open mind,
Yeah.
and go with it and not necessarily take a view upfront, right?
Right.
But that said, there is a lot that experience brings in, including connects, including understanding what could be pitfalls and so on.
Yeah.
There are situations where people have to raise money, they have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
There is an element of scientific credibility in what in many of these kind of domains.
Yeah.
There is, there is a you have to cross a certain bar to be scientifically credible, to raise money, to pitch for funds, and so on and so forth. And that basically means that somebody has to set the bar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some startups need help with that in terms of, am I meeting the requirements or not,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
very often it's also about asking the right questions,
Right.
presenting the data well,
Right.
understanding, telling the story in a credible way,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, of course, there is when one is raising commercial funds,
Yeah.
uh, I think the mentor's own networks or a mentoring team's own networks or the credibility of the team's advisors and networks matters a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't very often people it's a small world and people consult each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes around.
Yeah.
People are asked for opinions,
Yeah.
next referrals, and that is how the world works. So I think a mentor's role there is important, which means a mentor has to build their own network
Yes. Yes.
credibility over time as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think these are some pointers that I can suggest.
Yeah.
Mentoring is very different from a classroom education, by the way, even
Yeah.
for entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not difficult. It is
Right.
just that it is slightly
Different.
more listening and less talking.
True. True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes classroom teaching can be the other way around.
Telling. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, last question to founding team of My Labs, Hasmukh and Shailendra. What next?
Hello.
What
Good evening,
next?
sir.
Uh,
I
so,
think we lost.
I think both of you are muted.
Yeah. So as we have seen, what next is a good question. One thing is we have to run this show. So we will continue what we are doing.
Yeah.
More than that, we will find out the ways to bring the world-class solution to this Indian scientific community, wherein uh, the Indian healthcare or Indian molecular diagnostic market will
Yeah.
get revolutionized.
Right.
So we want to bring this particular technology to the masses. So
Yeah.
we will do whatever is required for doing that.
Yeah.
Uh, it may be cutting the prices with the disruptive technology, cutting the prices with the simplicity in the
Yeah.
technology,
Yeah.
modernization, more sensitive tests, and also the test which will help the healthcare professionals, that means the doctors, to
Yeah.
diagnose the disease early.
Okay.
So we are not, we are actually, we are generally, we take a broad path. We
Mhm.
generally don't take don't go with the product per se.
Yeah.
We see the broader path. We have vision and mission statement
Yeah.
wherein we wanted to keep it a little bit broader
Yeah.
and go in that direction. So
Yeah.
that is the broader path which we have selected, and
Right.
we will go in that direction.
Perfect. Perfect. That's fantastic. I think that's a fantastic conclusion from the MyLab founding team. Again, congratulations, and the country feel proud about your work. I think, though you said that you were prepared, but I think you came on time. So I think the time was right, and it was not right from business point of view, but the time was needed. Time was right from the societal need, from the country's need.
Yes.
I think you were there.
Yes.
I think really all of us are proud about it. And since you have done amazing amount of indigenization in manufacturing, I think that's another good news.
Thank you very much.
I'll before we close, we can have a quick summarization of the session. So takeaways on the session. So we have my colleague Sujay, who has taken the responsibility of summarizing the session. So Sujay, over to you for summarization, and then we can close the session. So over
Yes,
to you,
sir.
Sujay.
Thank you so much. And I thank the MyLab team and Dr. Premnath for such a wonderful and enriching session. My takeaways from the session were the session. It is probably one of the most balanced sessions that I have attended in recent times. Why I say it's a balanced session is because on one hand, while we had Dr. Premnath providing such valuable insights into what makes into what are the traits of a strong and a successful enterprise, a startup. And on the other hand, we had the MyLabs team manifesting all of those in their actions. So few of those which I picked up was first of all their extreme focus on the customer centricity, right? Like we all know it's a thumb rule of any enterprise creation that the story of an enterprise starts and ends with the customer. It is all a function of how well do you know your customer and
Get
how
on.
well are you able to cater to their needs and demands. And the team MyLabs is doing a fantastic job on that. The other quality that came out through discussion was the perseverance and the belief in the idea on which the team was working. The way they both uh, the founding team members pooled their personal resources despite facing rejection from multiple banks, etc. They did not give up on their dream and their idea, and have taken MyLabs to a position where it is today. It's immensely laudable. The other thing which I very nicely noticed was the nimbleness which the team operates, and which is a hallmark of a startup, and which actually is the advantage of a startup over a giant. As it came out through multiple points of discussion also, and which has been beautifully utilized by the team to their advantage to be able to deliver this COVID testing kit in a manner such a short span of time, and they have demonstrated many on many instances. Like for example, an instance quoted by Hasmukh where they flew their team member to Bangalore to just pick up some materials and brought him back because they were trying to save every hour. And so that is the kind of nimbleness which is required at this stage to be able to deliver something of this order. And and also they there is a conventional wisdom which says preparation beats luck,
Yeah.
which has been fantastically demonstrated by team MyLabs over here, because the first question to them, and the very obvious question to them, was how did you manage it in 6 weeks? And
Yeah.
they said it was never 6 weeks. We
Yeah.
were already working on many
Yeah.
other things
Yeah.
which are far more complicated as
Yeah.
compared to COVID. And when
Yeah.
the COVID arrived at the horizon, while there was uncertainty whether it will ever hit India or no, we just knew it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it was just a logical extension for them to do. So that's a classic manifestation of the traditional wisdom, which says preparation always beats luck. And here is a team which is demonstrating that. And finally, the thing which, if I may so call it, is my personal um, favorite, is an extraordinary team effort. Which is not only in word but in action. And is reflected through their entire journey, the way they have demonstrated it. And probably that is wired into the DNA of the company and the founding team. Probably that is the reason why the company is named as MyLab, because Shailendra ji happened to mention it is everyone's company. It is not just our company. It is not just the entrepreneur's vision. It is the entire team's company. And probably that's why the name MyLab. I don't know. They are in a better position to maybe reflect on why did they choose the name MyLab. But to me, it kind of married to this, philosophy of where they actually believe that it is everybody's company, and it's not just in words. So once again, thank you, panel, for such a fantastic and enriching session. I personally feel honored to be part of this discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Sujay. That's a wonderful summing up, and we appreciate the presence of the audience. Of course, we are extremely thankful about the presence of Hasmukh and Shailendra for agreeing to come to this session for such a long time. And of course, Dr. Premnath, he is always willing to help us whenever we called him. So I think yet another occasion when we could have Dr. Premnath with us with his expert comments, and of course, very, very good profiling of the whole process of the journey of science and technology startups. So with this note, we close this session. We are very close to 90 minutes. Actually, we have consumed 89 minutes. And just to inform the audience that we'll have yet another session on 26 June with another theme. So please look forward for the announcement. So 26 June, Friday, will be our next session. So look forward to have all of you with us. So with this, we close the session. Thank you very much.